Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 109 of your Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. Today we're going to talk about identity as a whatever. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about how if you are going to be a business person and you don't have templates or models for that because you didn't grow up in a family that ran a business or you didn't know anybody that ran a business, you are required to change your identity. When you start changing your identity, your system goes into alarm. If you had trauma related to identity shifts as a youngster, you will experience the same thing as you shift from your identity as a person who works for someone else to a person who works for herself, himself, themselves, who works for themselves. Okay, because you don't know yourself as a business person. You only know yourself as an employee. So we're going to be talking a lot about the nervous system. I have a course coming out sometime in the summer. I was thinking fall, but I think it's going to be sooner than that. It's called Unfuckwithable Warriors. Because everything about all the work I do is about personal power, about you being in your own power, being sovereign storytellers, telling your own story about how your life is going to be, independent of the culture, independent of your the messages, the conditioning you got. This is why I love human design, because it helps us start to pull that apart in a way that the mind can. It's sort of like human design is kind of like giving the mind a binky so that it can feel safe and secure with all these bits of knowledge, while the shift from mind-driven life to body-led life happens, which can take several months, even years. I don't ascribe to the 7-year theory. I think we have more knowledge about things like that. I'm not saying that Ra was wrong. I'm saying there's other ways, and I don't think it takes 7 years to decondition yourself. You can see results simply by focusing on your authority within a few days. I know now when I'm out of alignment with my system, I'm a mental projector, and I get back in alignment and go back to listening to my body and using my authority of talking things out, money starts coming in. Money for me is the green light, red light. If there's no money coming in, I'm offline. If I'm online, there's money coming in. And then I'm training my nervous system to handle larger amounts of money. So that's what we're really talking about. Anytime you change something, your nervous system needs time to adapt. So your body is wise and it knows first what you need to do. But the actual tendons, bones, muscles, and all the nerve endings, the foresty roots of you that, your whole body, all your little nerve endings need to have time to adapt to this new identity. Several podcasts I've been talking about how your brain produces chemicals. The chemicals create sensation, and if you are not comfortable with the sensation, you'll shut it all down. Okay, so being an unfuckable with warrior is you knowing yourself so well that you know what these disruptions in your nervous system feel like, so they're not scary to you and you don't have to shut them down. Now, not scary doesn't mean comfortable. There's lots of times that you're going to be very uncomfortable, but when we're afraid of that discomfort, we close it off, right? Because we don't understand it. If we don't have the knowledge of why that's happening, it's unconscious to us and we just don't, we just shut it down. We sabotage it, air quote. We stay safe by shutting down doing the things that were leading clients to us. We quit listening to the body and go back to pro and con lists and strategy and 7-step methods of bro marketing, right? We make sure we buy another course to make sure that we aren't taking the actions that are changing our brain chemistry, which changes our nervous system response, which changes our perception of how we're feeling, right? Going through that, it's a predictable process. Like, it's not a mystery. It's only a mystery because if we haven't studied it, right? It's very predictable. When you do something different, your brain does something different, which means your nerves do something different, which means your perception is something's different, and your system goes, holy shit, we hate different, so let's get back to our familiar bad feeling place. Very predictable. Happens every time you do something new. Traveling to a new country was incredibly stressful on my nervous system. Different language, different sights, sounds, smells. I felt dislocated physically. I've never been across the pond, right? I knew that it was going to be disruptive, so I wasn't freaked out by it. I knew I was going to be disturbed or dysregulated, whatever you want to say, right? But when we're traveling, we just kind of chalk it, oh, well, we're traveling. Oh, well, jet lag. Oh, well, je ne parle français. We can't speak the language. So, of course, we're going to feel weird, right? So, it's the same thing if you're starting a business. It's the same thing when you're getting married. It's the same thing as having a child, going back to school to finish your degree or get a degree, and everything. In re-entering the dating world, ugh, yuck. I'm not ready for that yet, but because I know it's going to be very disturbing to my nervous system, and I've got enough going on. So, when we're talking about procrastination and being an empath and sensitive or a starseed or whatever you want to call yourself is fine. But know that some of those labels can become a little pocket, little place where you can hide. I can't because I'm so sensitive. I can't because I'm an empath. I can't because I don't belong to this planet. I can't because blah, blah, blah. I can't because making that post is making me sick to my stomach. Thinking about making this change is making me sick to my stomach. Sick to your stomach is a system in alarm, right? Nausea is like fear. So, what do you do? What do we do about it? Well, the first thing you do is spend time with yourself every day, listening to yourself, learning your day to day. It's getting a baseline measurement. Okay. You need to know what your regular daily thoughts are. And of course, I'm going to tell you to sit 5 minutes in silence. There's absolutely no reason that you can't do that. And then after that 5 minutes, if you want to get up and do a walking meditation, or you want to do qigong, you want to do tai chi, you want to do painting or morning pages, whatever, that's totally fine. But I'm telling you, there's in that 5 minutes of silent stillness, there are gifts in there. And you won't know them, and I can't describe them to you, but you won't have those experiences until you develop that practice daily. You can stay in bed and do it. You don't have to get up and do a whole thing and go sit on a cushion somewhere. You can. But it really doesn't matter where you do it, as long as you're still and silent. This helps you when you decide, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to do some YouTube videos and teach people how to crochet. I'm going to start exercising and repair my relationship with food, whatever it is. I'm going to start dating again, whatever. When you know your baseline, you start to immediately feel the reaction that comes from a thought that's moving you toward a new identity, because those thoughts will initially be alarming. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Intruder alert, intruder alert. New identities trying to sneak in here. Perimeter breach. Okay. So when you know this, you already know. Oh, I'm going to start it. Oh, let's just use business. This can be applied to anything. I want to make more money. I want to feel better in my body. I want a new partner. I want a new house, whatever it is, anything. It's a very predictable process. Okay, so you're sitting 5 minutes in silence, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to think about anything. You can watch your thoughts. You can hear, you can ask yourself, who is watching this thinking? That can be interesting. Okay, so you get a sense of yourself. And then later in the day or right after your 5 minutes, you can start to think about, I need to tell people I'm taking clients, or I need to get my website up and running because I'm going to develop this business, because hopefully you have a big passionate drive to offer something to the world. When you start thinking about those components of offering that service to the world, what typically happens is your brain shuts down or you go into ADD mode. Now, let me put a little insert in here. If you do have an ADD or a neurotypical or a neurodivergent brain, visualizing where you want to go can be hard. So you might have to, so a lot of ADD brains will say, well, I can't picture what the end zone would be, so I can't reverse engineer it because I can't imagine what the end zone would be. So you might have to look outside yourself and find some people you admire who are doing, or at least look like they're doing, what you want to do, so that you have some pieces of what your end zone might look like. So it might take a little bit longer to get a picture. If you have a typical brain, you can imagine yourself as a business owner pretty quickly, but otherwise you may have to take a little more time. Once you have the picture of what you think it's going to look like and feel like, you spend time thinking about that, and you're increasing your awareness of how your body is responding to the changes that your thoughts are triggering in your brain. Okay? Thought triggers brain, produces chemicals, impacts nervous system, increases sensation, or not even maybe increases, but changes sensation, and that can create alarm. It definitely creates a sense of different sensations. So even people with an already very strong flexible nervous system will feel that change. They're able to navigate it better or easier, not better, but easier. And when you know what's happening, you'll be able to navigate it easier as well. So it's not just mindset work. You can't just mindset yourself into a successful business. But mindset work is a great starting point, because the mindset work does what? Thoughts, brain, nervous system, sensation. Right? So you start doing affirmations and you feel like your life goes to shit. Well, your life's not going to shit. You're becoming aware. People start a meditation practice and then come back and complain that their life blew up. Your life didn't blow up, honey bunny. You started to be aware of all the stuff going on in your life that you were unconscious to. And that can feel like, right, to be fair, that can feel like your life suddenly fell off into the shitter because you were increasing your awareness, right? This is all normal. It's not mysterious. It's science. It's chemicals. It's nervous system. It's reactions. It's also spiritual. It's this drive of your soul to express itself through your physical body. For this eternal part of you to engage with and have a relationship with the temporary physical part of you and this planet that you're on. If you're using this idea that you came from another planet as a soul, whatever, and that's why life is hard for you, I'm just going to call bullshit on that. You're here in a physical body, so be in a physical body. The longer you fight the physicality of this experience, the harder your life will be. And hiding in a concept that you're part of a first wave, second wave, third wave, whatever, that's fine, but it doesn't change your daily experience. Thinking that life is always going to be hard for you because you're an empath is a trap. And this is not a judgment, because I don't think we're doing enough to educate ourselves and each other on what it means to be here in this body. I know I'm a broken record about human design, but what I see in human design, regardless of its sketchy beginnings and, cultural appropriation stuff probably, is it's an embodiment tool. If you really start working your human design, the basics, not spinning off into gates and channels and incarnation crosses and stuff, which are fun, but in the beginning, you need to be focused on one thing only: your type, strategy, and authority. You're a manifester with emotional authority, and your strategy is to initiate. You're supposed to go out and do stuff. You're a projector with one of several authorities, and your strategy is to wait for the invitation. Not to be butting into everybody's businesses and telling them what to do, even though you do see clearly what they should be doing differently. We have to wait to be recognized and invited. Or ask before you butt in. Right? Because what is it doing? If you're focused on your authority, now what brings most people to human design, obviously, what brings us to any sort of personal development is something hurts. Something is painful. A painful relationship, a painful physical condition, ain't got no money kind of pain. The answers to all of that are in your body. And human design, its primary component is, what does your body say about that? Your authority is in your body, except for environmental authorities for reflectors and projectors, some projectors, where we have to talk things out and engage with the environment that we're in to feel in our body the response. So it's still bringing you back to your body. So isn't that interesting? It requires you to engage with your physicality. And most of my clients most of the people who end up working with me are procrastinators, or they're living their lives in this state of confusion and overwhelm. When that's happening, that is a person who's not engaged and embodied. They're not listening to their body, or they have physical pain that makes it hard to be in their body, or they had sexual abuse that made it, disconnected them from their body, or an addicted parent. I mean, there's millions of things. It doesn't even have to be that dramatic. You could be born the nerd in a family of athletes and end up disconnected from your body because you can't relate. It's easier to live inside of books than to live physically, engage with your physical body. So time in silence, thinking about your identity. Make a list. Who do I think of myself as? When we're talking about identity, if you've never thought about it, it's who you describe yourself to be, who you think of yourself to be. So if I were to ask you, tell me who you are, the things that you would say to me, that's how you see yourself. That's the building blocks of your identity, your self-perception. It's usually labels, right? I'm a mom. I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm a person who, those are identity. I'm a person who, I like this, I don't like that. And we've all gone through identity shifts, right? You're not the same person as you were when you were 5. You had a different identity in kindergarten. Then you went through the upheaval and horror of a huge identity shift in your tween years and your teen years and your early adult years, and then your middle years. If around 40-ish, things start to shift again. It happens about every 10 or 12 years. But when you're going to build a business, you're purposefully having to change your identity. So you have to start including labels like, I am a business person, I am a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a freelancer, I'm a person who makes money from their own creations. What I see happening a lot with the procrastination is we aren't treating our business like a real business. We don't get up and get dressed for it. We don't plan it. We just are kind of winging it. And that's fine because we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out by watching other people. But when you're watching other people, you aren't seeing the back end of it and how much time it takes to produce content and how much money it costs to put the things in place that distribute your content. Nothing is free. None of it's free. The free content you're consuming, be respectful of that. It took somebody a lot of time and energy to create that thing that you get when you sign up for somebody's email list. It didn't just pop out of their brain and into the computer while they were sleeping. So it might be free to you, but it wasn't free to them. We need to remember that. Okay, so you think about yourself and your identity, who you see yourself to be right now. And then you think about, if I were going to have an identity of a successful business person, what labels would I be putting on myself? What characteristics would I be adding to my current identity? If I have an identity that's wrapped up in never having enough money, I've got to do some work to form an identity that has all the monies. If I'm coming from, I always work for other people and they give me a paycheck and I don't really have to think about it, to, holy shit, I've got to make my own paycheck. Now what the fuck am I going to do? And what are other people doing? And now how do I want to describe myself? I'm a person who's a professional. I'm a person who's a healer and I run a successful business, yada yada, and that looks blah, 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 blah. When you give yourself the words and the vision, you create the feeling in the body, which aggravates your nervous system, and you can be with it, be present with it, understand that the discomfort is totally normal. Totally normal. That discomfort is part of you achieving your goals. If you don't get comfortable with the uncomfortable, you will never achieve your goals because that's part of it. We understand if we start lifting weights, our body's going to be temporarily uncomfortable. So we just know that. If you haven't exercised in a decade, let me raise my hand here, and you used to be athletic, you have the memory to draw on. So I haven't exercised in forever. I'm going back to that. I've been an athlete. I was always active and strong, and menopause has kind of little derailed me. But I know that, okay, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to actually hurt. And I'm just going to have to stick it out because eventually I'll be back to where I can run up a flight of stairs and not even notice. I have that template, right? So if you're building I've had that experience. I know what it feels like. So I don't have to be overly concerned with the discomfort, the uncomfortableness that's going to come from building my strength back up in a body that doesn't have the natural muscle tone that I used to have, right? So it's going to be a different experience. So when you're starting a business and you don't have that prior experience, like you've never been a business owner, I know I said this earlier, but I just want to add a little something to it. Go talk to people who are running a successful business. Offer to buy a session. Don't ask people to pick their brain and not offer them something. When I was being trained informally in Native American traditions by Kira Morgan, who I was in contact with, she was my mom's mentor. And so I went to her classes and got to be with her and learn a bunch of stuff. If you went to a ceremony or an event or asked a healer for something and you didn't bring a gift or something to exchange with them, they would not see you. I mean, that would be just like the height of rudeness to expect to get wisdom from someone without offering something in exchange. Height of rudeness. And our internet culture is like, maybe our culture in general is like, well, you're successful. Let me pick your brain. Let me take an hour of your time. And you should just give it to me. Don't do that. I know most of you wouldn't do that. But it's not like intentionally rude. It's just we don't think about it. The internet world feels like free. But when we're engaging with a person and asking them to take their time and talk to us, we need to offer something in exchange. And usually money is what we can most easily offer. So find people who in your field, in your where you want to go, whatever kind of coach you want to be, look at what they're doing, offer to exchange with them to have 15 minutes of their time. Like, what does your day look like? How do you produce content when you don't want to? Stuff like that, okay? Find out how they're doing it. Talk to 5 or 6 people. And then sit with all that and think about, okay, how do I want to? If you need like a class or a course, George Cow has lots of classes. Steph Lagana runs a ethical business incubator. Sandy Amarim runs some business stuff. I don't know what she's doing right now, but there's people out there. And then I run Less Hustle, More Human Design if you want to look at this process of change and shifting your nervous system through a human design lens. Okay, so you're having to go on a treasure hunt to build yourself an identity. After you've done that, or while you're doing it, trying it on for size, imagining that you're getting up in the morning and you're doing what you would do when you go to work. You aren't shuffling to the computer in your jammies like I have done forever. I mean, it's 11 o'clock. I'm sitting in my car in my nightgown doing a podcast episode. But if you're not able to get motivated and do stuff, you may want to try getting dressed for work, even though you're staying at home and doing your own thing. It might help you with the transition. And later, you too can wander around all day in your jammy pants and still get some stuff done. So, the reason for gathering the information and then sitting and visualizing it and playing with it is so that you are deliberately aggravating your nervous system so that you can get used to it. Just like you would train for a marathon so that you could get used to running like a crazy person, right? You're training. So Unfuckwithable Warriors is going to be a training program. We're deliberately training your nervous system to tolerate change, to tolerate the normal and natural discomfort that comes anytime you make change. So you're going to go through the discomfort of building a business, and then you're going to start making money, and that's going to freak you out. Well, first of all, people will start booking discovery calls, and that'll freak you out. Then you'll start making money, and that will freak you out. Then you'll start making more money, and that will freak you out. Right? It's just it's just a series of freakouts. So if you learn the process, you don't really need to learn anything else. You learn the mechanics, but then you learn the process of your body that underlies that. That's why you take 100 courses and you still don't have anything to show for it, because the body's been left out. Your nervous system hasn't been educated. Well, your brain hasn't been educated about what your nervous system is going to go through so that you don't freak out and shut it all down when your body starts to feel weird and you don't even know what's going on, right? If you're not in touch with your body, you're not even aware why you feel agitated and why all of a sudden you want to murder everybody that you see, right? Or all of a sudden you got to organize the closet instead of getting your shit done, instead of producing content, right? You don't even know why that's happening. Well, that's happening because you're trying to stay safe. Your body is a highly sophisticated system of processes that is designed to keep things the same. And nothing I'm saying here is new. But when I was a therapist, I specialized in trauma. And then just lately, I've been realizing that we're really missing this piece. Now, it is, thank God, becoming more widespread, this understanding of trauma in the nervous system, and trauma being much more broadly defined as any experience that feels threatening to you. That can be somebody picking on you in school. Even briefly getting picked on in school can leave a lasting mark. Like, it's no joke. And you don't have to feel bad about it. Oh, I wasn't really traumatized. I just had a rough year in 7th grade. Well, that still counts. It's still going to impact you today when you step out and do something different, right? That alarms us more than anything, is to step out and do something different. We're going to get all dysregulated and sweat and cry and carry on and do all kinds of stuff. So let's just educate ourselves about that so that we can move through it a bit more comfortably, because we aren't layering fear on top of these normal, uncomfortable sensations. Okay? So that's how you do it. And if you want support, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram and message me, and I can send you links to people that I feel are trustworthy, that you can feel comfortable giving your money to. If you want to work with me, it's thatmichellewolf.com. Unfuckable with Warriors is not going to be ready because I've got a lot going on and can't sit down and organize it properly for another couple of months. So I'm thinking summer, maybe June. June feels like it might be appropriate. But anyway, just know that it's going to be uncomfortable. Just know that you need some information, but not too much information. And know that when you go to take action, it's going to suck big. So visualize it ahead of time. Get yourself comfortable with the uncomfortableness, and then go do your thing and see what happens and adjust accordingly. Play with this. Be light with it. Go get your human design, freehumandesignchart.com. Come see me for a foundation session. We'll get you on track with your body, and things will get easier. Less hustle, more human design. Seriously. All right, I'm going to go. In the meantime, before we talk again, think less, feel more, and I'll talk to you next time.